come. Jeez, that was stressful, eh? I hope you explore better than what you show up.
We don't explore, we just mine.
You mine. Jason, welcome back. What do you need? Take over. Ladies, gentlemen, let me quickly welcome back the online crew. Jason has honored us with a few visits. What I like when a company comes back is we get a progress report. He's difficult to pin down. He's a bit of a kangaroo. Then isn't whatever, then isn't whatever, now isn't whatever. So, Jason, over to you. Tell us, what are you up to in Marula Mining? Thank you very much.
Glad to. Thank you. Thank you, Bernard. And thank you, everybody. We're here to talk about Marula Mining today, where, like Bernard said, I was here a year ago talking about our plans and ambitions, not just here in South Africa, but elsewhere in East Africa. So let me just quickly give you an update. Unlike many mining companies that are listed on London, our headquarters is in Nairobi. And out of Nairobi, we've built quite the business, both there in East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, but also down here in South Africa, and particularly in the Northern Cape region. So we've listed as Marula Mining 2 years ago. And in the space of 2 years, we've grown our business quite considerably. We now have a operating mine up in the Northern Cape, the Blesberg mine, producing spodumene ore, tantalum, feldspar. We will be looking to commence production of additional tantalum, tungsten up there in the Northern Cape over the second half of this year. And we're looking at some cobalt and associated mineralization here in South Africa, in Limpopo. And a few other things here, which you'll certainly hear about in the coming weeks and months from us. Up in East Africa, just this week, we've started production at our manganese mine. So perhaps we should talk. Bernard? You seem to be able to tap in some good funding here. So yes, we've just started production from our manganese mine up there. Across the border in Tanzania, we have a copper mine, which will start production in the second half of this year. And we have some incredibly good graphite projects in Tanzania, near Moshi, near Mount Kilimanjaro, where again in the second half of this year we'll be starting our initial production. So as you can probably guess from that, we are not that true exploration company. We're looking for an accelerated production profile, developing mines, typically brownfield, or ones where the local partners have stumbled when it comes to raising capital, or don't have the necessary skills, access to the capital markets, which we can bring in out of Europe and out of here as well. Look, I think I've touched on this. Look, I've worked in Africa now for literally all of my career. I came as a young mining engineer out of the UK, working out here at the Kinross gold mine. And that was my first experience. And since then, been working throughout Southern, East, and Central Africa. So our focus is basically building on my experience, an opportunity to identify projects where we can actually get them into production. And that's the key thing. You know, I've seen and I've experienced both as a banker, fund manager on the mining side, far too much funds being squandered and not actually going into the ground to actually accelerate those projects through to production. And that's where I believe the greatest value is to be had. It's actually producing, generating a cash flow, and actually working in amongst the communities, your stakeholders, and delivering for your shareholders. One of our partners here in South Africa is Q Global Commodities, headed up by Quinton van der Berg. Many of you will probably know him from his coal mining focus here. Over the past 2 years, he's actually diversified away from coal, and his first investment into a listed company was with us. His first board position on a listed entity was with us. And on the back of that, he's advanced funding, both directly and then through Dubai-based funds, to basically allow us to deliver on our projects. So for a lot of junior companies where they're always looking across their shoulder to find out where that next tranche of funding is going, or gearing their programs to be able to secure funding, grab that attention from investors, you know, we've been able to avoid that. We've been able to go in a straight line, whereas many juniors kind of circle a few times, go backwards and forwards, and have to deal, I guess, with a lot of the brokers, fund managers, even investment banks. And as an investment banker in my junior years, that's a horrible thing to have to do. Okay, one of the things we're very committed to is Africa, hence our office there in Nairobi, hence our office in the Northern Cape. We're listed here. Sorry, Patricia. We actually went onto the A2X market, but we are working with Patricia to get a JSE listing. We are going to be listing on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. We will be that first listing there in a number of years, first dual listing. And I actually believe we are the first metals mining company to be listed on there. So that's going to open up a lot of opportunities in East Africa, which I think is going to have a major impact, certainly in the region when it comes to funding a number of these projects. So we're listed there. This is where our business is built upon. And I think that's one of the advantages which has allowed us to really take forward all our projects towards development over the past 2 years. We'll talk about Blesberg up in the Northern Cape. For those that have been up there in the Northern Cape, it's an amazing place. Drive past Springbok, heading towards the Namibian border. We're just there on the left-hand side. Okay, we've been there now since, 18 months. Some historical work there from old-timers, basically extracting the tantalite, one of the biggest producers of tantalite ore in southern Africa, and one of the major mineralized pegmatite systems that you'll find up in that region. Extends across into Namibia, obviously, and Anthony can talk about some of his successes over there in Namibia afterwards. But look, we were very fortunate. There was about 250,000 tons of historic stockpiles from where they were mining the tantalite, and they were just throwing the spodumene across the side of the hill. So we've been able to go in there, assay that, and we've actually started processing that. And just later this month, we'll be doing our first sales out of there under a long-term offtake agreement. Very high grade, very extensive, and we've done a lot of work there over the past year, proving that up, investing heavily both in processing equipment, mobile mining equipment, and in our exploration, which, like I say, has given us an opportunity to really push ahead here. These are the stockpiles just being reprocessed. We started that earlier in 2023. And we've actually taken up there, I see we've got Tomra, Rados, both here. We're using Tomra and Rados equipment to basically dry sort that. I believe we're one of the first large-scale commercial mining operations to achieve that. And like I say, the first sales of this spodumene running at about 5.5% to 6% Li2O, so very high-grade material. We actually have the byproduct feldspar, tantalite, as well, which we're selling, which more than offsets all our operating costs there. So very high margin, very profitable business, which we'll use as the base to grow up there in the Northern Cape. The expansion now into the open pit operation, the more conventional open pit, moving away from the stockpile reprocessing. We weren't doing this time last year, Bernard. We are now. So the drilling and blasting is to commence later this quarter, as we move into that more conventional style mining up there. It's been a fantastic experience to date, just doing 5,000 tonne per month of sales. But with lithium prices, even at the current low prices of $1,000 a tonne, we're quite comfortable with the sort of margins that we're going to be getting out of there. Okay, going forward, up at Blesberg, major expansion, growing our footprint. There's some adjoining licenses which we will be incorporating into our bigger plans with a view there of basically growing, using a central processing facility there at Blesberg. We've got the license adjoining to the north. We're in discussions to one to the south. So we've got a real opportunity with the infrastructure we've sunk over the course of 2023, 2024, to kind of grow that business and create quite a significant battery metals hub up there in the Northern Cape. Again, on this critical metals focus, our manganese operation, where we've started production this week, and where our first sales will be completed by the end of this week. We actually only got involved in this on the 1st of March of this year. So within 3 months, we have got in here. It's an old manganese operation, operated intermittently for the past 10 years. Again, conventional, shallow, open pit. We saw an opportunity to come in here invest both in exploration, invest in new equipment, and basically grow that business from a very small scale up to one where we're looking at producing 250 to 500,000 tons per annum of a very good, high-quality manganese ore going into the export markets through Kenya. We can do that because, again, the environment up there allows us to move very quickly, work with our local partners, and look to expand quite a significant operation. It's open pit. Literally, we've gone in there this past week. We've upgraded existing processing equipment, very conventional crush screen, transporting down to Nairobi, then on the trains through the port of Mombasa. Very efficient, can I say very efficient infrastructure in this country?
Yeah.
I can? Okay. The roads work, the rail works, the port works. So 3 strikes there. So no, this has gone very well. And we are finalizing an offtake arrangement with a UK, European-based trading group where we're getting paid 80% of the product value as we deliver that into Nairobi. So very attractive for us there. Some of the high-grade material up over 55%, the sort of stuff you typically would find in Zambia. Average run of mine here, 33%. So in a very simple way, we can upgrade that to plus 37%. For those that have focused on the manganese market over the past few months, major disruptions in the supply chain there out of the mines in Australia. You've had about between 10 and 13% of global production basically taken out of the supply equation for the next 12 months or so. So you've seen benchmark prices rise 60, 70% over the past 6 weeks. So, very good time to be producing and selling manganese into the market here. At the moment, there's 3 small open pits. We're going to develop that into a single large open pit. Strike length over 9 kilometers, very significant. Outcropping in a number of places, and 1.5 to 12 meters deep. So very little overburden to be removed. Good infrastructure and offtake arrangements to be signed later this week. Okay. First sales before the end of this month, and we've secured new logistics, transportation contracts in place. One of the great things when you're dealing with commodities such as manganese, very simple processing, very simple operation. It becomes more of a logistics exercise. So it's been very fortunate for the environment we find ourselves in Kenya that we can actually do this. We've had a double win, not just with the manganese prices increasing significantly. Sea freight out of Mombasa has come down very considerably over the past month. So our margins are looking very attractive. And basically on the back of this is going to be funding a lot of our regional activity up there in East Africa. So Bernard, this wasn't even on our list last year when I was here. This is now going to be operating effectively within 3 months of us securing it. So quite a significant impact on our business. Kanusi Copper, again, I'm just going to touch on 2 of the projects we've got in Tanzania. The copper mine up there, very high grade. We've got small-scale mining taking place there. Very high-grade material, as you can see here. Mining licenses already in place. So across everything we do, there's mining licenses in place. So it gives us that ability to move forward. Okay, we haven't got a 1-2 year delay while we go through the regulatory environment. We're really very targeting in our activities. Okay, you've got over 1K strike length here, 300 meters wide. You've got a very significant ore body here. We've just reviewed our strategy to develop this at our Blesberg operations in the Northern Cape. We were able to secure the services of somebody that was very involved with Copper 360, and we've got them involved primarily to look and assist us with our development strategy here. It's very good copper, as you can see. Grades there, assays coming in 15%, 11%. The locals are effectively selling a 25 to 40% product. Grades of 6% and below, they're just stockpiling as waste. It's incredible. Everybody knows Tanzania for its gold. Copper is something I think over the course of this decade, people will see there are some great projects up there. Copper is not just about the copper belt. Copper is not just about the DRC. There's some incredible resources and projects here. And the only way you're going to find them is by getting out. We drove, I I think it was 9 hours from Nairobi to go and have a look at this. And I think 7 hours into that trip, I've got some of my colleagues here, 7 hours into that trip, I was at my limit. And we were about to turn around. And then we turned the corner and we saw this. We saw the small open pits. It's one of those car trips which I'm really glad we were able to finish. But here, this is going to be developed in the second half of this year. Process plant will be coming up July, and we'll get that first product out in the last quarter of this year. Okay, again, a great little asset and something which we're expanding. We've got 10 granted mining licenses there. That'll be expanding to at least double that over the course of the next month. Lastly, but certainly not least, is our graphite projects. Located near Moshi, which is Mount Kilimanjaro. We started off here a year ago, and we had 10 granted mining licenses. We now have 35. Our initial phase of work really identified some incredible opportunities here. Large jumbo flags, and I know we've got the guys from Walkabout here doing some amazing work up in Tanzania. Tanzania is going to become, one of the significant producers of graphite in the world. Some incredible projects there. What we found here at Moshi, again, significant surface mineralization extending for over 3 kilometers. You've got local miners, local cooperatives mining this, packaging it in sea containers and selling it without any processing and receiving over $1,000 a ton. This is the quality of that mineralization. You put in place a proper processing plant here, your value on that is going to go up several-fold. So it's something that we're certainly looking at, and we'll get into production again before the end of this year. Okay? Again, you can see some of the flags, you can see some of this there. Our resource work on both the copper and here on the graphite is going to be completed before the end of September. That will allow us to really focus our attentions here. Okay, as you can see, very extensive. This is some of the work. Okay, your typical grades. Ooh, did we do something there? Some very good grades here, but this is very typical of what you're finding up in Tanzania. Truly a world-class graphite region, and one, like I say, I think will have a major impact in its global positioning over the course of this year as you get a couple of new projects coming on, but certainly as you go through the rest of this decade. Like I say, second half of this year, we're looking forward to a medium-sized, shallow open pit operation scheduled to commence. And like I say, I've got our head of Tanzania here, and he's pushing me, wondering how come the Kenyan manganese got in there first. But we'll be clearly pushing ahead on here. Like I say, graphite is very exciting. It was something I never thought I'd get involved with. But when you get out there and you see it, and you see the opportunities and you see what's there, and the simplicity, that's the key thing, the simplicity of these commodities, which are now critical to our world, to the very many industries and vehicles that we're driving around in. Something like this up there, and in a jurisdiction which is so supportive of mineral development, I think you've got a number of things which are coming together very well, certainly for Marula in East Africa. But again, I'm not going to knock what we're doing here. I think we're on to a great opportunity here. Okay, I'm going to finish early here for you, Bernard. So cheers. Get the questions ready. So look, what's Marula about? We do the exploration, we do the development, but the key thing for us is bringing mines into production. Medium-scale mines which have the potential to grow quite significantly. We want to get it into production in a low-risk environment. So we are looking at brownfields projects. We are looking at projects which are supportive in terms of, like I say, the regulatory environment, the government, the host government providing the opportunity to actually take something through to production relatively quickly. So we will use our cash flows. The cash flows which we're going to be generating, first sales out of the manganese this month, we're putting that straight into grow our business into Kenya, but also to assist and accelerate what we're doing into Tanzania. So we're very excited about that. South Africa is something we're going to grow our business on, Bernard. I was hoping to better announce this morning 1 acquisition, possibly 2. We'll have to wait. I think we'll announce 1 before the end of this week and another 1 next week. So we're actively looking here at growing the business. We think there's tremendous opportunities in that battery and critical metals space. And sometimes I think South Africans, you've got to go and look elsewhere around the world and just see just how good you've got it here. You still have a first world mining infrastructure. You may bemoan it time and time again. But compared to other places, it's actually not that bad. And the rule of law actually allows us, we wouldn't have been able to do that Blesberg mine as fast as we could in many other countries. We've been able to do it here, and we want to do it again in some of those other projects. So thank you very much. Open for questions. Can I sit down?